Every morning, millions of aquarium owners reach for that familiar container of flake food, watching their fish dart to the surface in a predictable feeding frenzy. The ritual feels safe, scientific even. After all, these formulas were designed by experts, right? But here's what most hobbyists never learn. That convenient jar of flakes can lose up to half its vitamin content within weeks of opening. The omega-3 fatty acids oxidize, the nutrients degrade, and all those colorful flakes that looked so vibrant when you bought them, they're essentially delivering compromised nutrition to fish whose survival depends on getting it right. Now consider this. A hobbyist spending $30 at an Asian market can produce an entire year's worth of fish food, frozen cubes packed with fresh salmon, whole shrimp with shells intact, mussels, spirulina, and garlic. The fish go absolutely insane for it. Colors intensify within weeks, breeding behaviors kick in spontaneously. And the cost? Roughly 25% of what premium commercial frozen foods would run. Fish don't process nutrients like terrestrial animals. Their entire metabolism operates on fundamentally different principles. While mammals and birds need roughly 15 to 20 kilocalories of digestible energy per gram of crude protein, fish require only 8 to 10. Their protein requirements skyrocket in comparison, anywhere from 35 to 55% of diet depending on species, while your dog gets by on 25%. A carnivorous cichlid needs protein levels that would overwhelm most mammals. Then, there's the fat distinction that changes everything. Humans, dogs, cats, we all need omega-6 fatty acids like linoleic acid. Fish, they require omega-3s, specifically EPA and DHA, those long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids found primarily in marine sources. Feed a fish corn oil rich in omega-6s, and you're feeding them something their physiology cannot properly utilize for energy. It's the wrong fuel for the wrong engine. Fish absorb minerals through their gills directly from surrounding water, which means their dietary mineral needs differ dramatically from ours. Calcium requirements vary wildly based on water hardness. Phosphorus must be carefully balanced, or you end up with skeletal deformities. These aren't minor details. They're fundamental differences that one-size-fits-all commercial foods struggle to address across hundreds of species. And here's the kicker about vitamin C. Fish must obtain it regularly through diet because they cannot store it the way we do. Ascorbic acid oxidizes rapidly in water, especially in warm tropical tanks. Open a container of flake food and the degradation clock starts ticking immediately. Within 3 months, vitamin C content has plummeted. Your fish are eating what looks like adequate food but receiving compromised nutrition. But fish don't just need nutrients. They need the right balance for their specific dietary category. In nature, carnivorous fish are ambush predators and pursuit hunters. Arowanas cruise surface waters waiting for insects. Piranhas school in murky rivers, detecting blood and movement. Lionfish hover near reefs, their venomous spines protecting them while they corner prey. These species evolved short digestive tracts optimized for rapid protein absorption. Everything about their metabolism screams one message: give me meat. Herbivores operate under completely different constraints. Plecos scrape algae from submerged wood for hours daily. Tanks patrol reef faces, nibbling macroalgae constantly. Silver dollars in Amazonian blackwaters consume fruits that drop from overhanging trees. These fish have longer intestinal tracts housing specialized bacteria colonies that break down plant cellulose. They need fiber, lots of it, though even strict herbivores benefit from occasional protein hits when available. The vast majority of aquarium species are omnivores, opportunistic feeders who eat whatever the ecosystem provides. Goldfish root through substrate searching for insect larvae and plant matter simultaneously. Tetras pick at algae but absolutely annihilate brine shrimp when available. Most cichlids maintain this flexibility, adapting their diet to seasonal food availability. This evolutionary flexibility makes them ideal candidates for homemade food. You can balance recipes to their natural preferences while ensuring complete nutrition. Understanding these categories is crucial because the ingredients you select must mirror what fish would encounter in their natural habitat. For carnivores, seafood forms the foundation. White fish like tilapia or cod provides lean, highly digestible protein without excessive fat. Salmon brings those critical omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, along with astaxanthin, the carotenoid responsible for that rich red-orange flesh color. When your fish consume salmon, they're getting nutrition that matches what predatory fish would obtain eating smaller fish in the wild. Shrimp might be the most valuable ingredient you can include. Whole raw shrimp. And here's the key, with shells still attached. Those shells contain chitin, a polysaccharide that some research suggests possesses antiparasitic properties. The shells also hold astaxanthin in high concentrations, far more than the meat alone. Don't remove them. Blend everything together. The protein in shrimp is complete, containing all essential amino acids fish need for growth and tissue repair. Mussels, scallops, clams, and squid expand the amino acid profile. Each brings slightly different nutrient packages. Mussels are rich in iron and zinc. Scallops provide selenium. Squid meal is highly digestible and contains a full range of amino acids, making it particularly valuable for fry and young fish. When you combine multiple seafood sources, you create a protein cocktail no single ingredient could provide alone. Here's where earthworms enter the conversation. Protein powerhouses that are inexpensive and readily available, but with one non-negotiable rule. Purchase them, never dig them from soil. That garden dirt might be treated with pesticides, herbicides, or heavy metals that concentrate in worm tissues. Buy cultured earthworms sold as feeder stock. They're clean, nutritious, and fish devour them with enthusiasm, rivaling any food source. Now, we need to address the elephant in the room. Or more accurately, the cow heart. For over 5 decades, beef heart has been the food for discus breeders. Legendary discus keeper Jack Watley built his reputation partly on his beef heart recipe. Blended beef heart mixed with egg yolks, fed daily. Discus grew massive. Colors popped. Growth rates were exceptional. An entire generation of breeders swore by it. Even today, you'll find hobbyists defending beef heart with near-religious fervor based on decades of successful breeding. But here's what science tells us. Fish cannot efficiently metabolize fats from warm-blooded animals. Beef heart, despite being lean muscle tissue, contains saturated fats with high melting points. Fish, being cold-blooded organisms living in water, lack the metabolic machinery to break down these fats effectively. Instead, they accumulate in the liver, leading over time to fatty liver disease and potential organ failure. The evidence comes from aquarists who lost fish feeding beef heart exclusively. Discus that seemed healthy suddenly bloated, stopped eating, and died despite pristine water conditions. Dither fish like tetras in discus tanks, fish not adapted to high-protein predator diets, died at alarming rates when forced to compete for beef heart food. The fish that survived and thrived typically belonged to keepers doing massive, frequent water changes, essentially diluting the metabolic stress through sheer water volume exchange. And there's the hormones and antibiotics trapped in commercially raised beef tissues. Non-organic beef heart can contain residual growth hormones and antibiotic compounds that stress fish livers beyond what the fat alone causes. This chemical burden compounds the physical inability to process mammalian fats. But here's the crucial caveat. Beef heart works for rapid growth. Breeders use it because it fattens juvenile discus quickly for sale. It's not about optimal long-term health, it's about creating sale-ready fish fast. Once that fish sells and enters a hobbyist's tank, the long-term consequences become someone else's problem. Some breeders who raised 3 generations on pure beef heart report 0 issues, but they're also keeping discus at extremely high temperatures, 30 degrees Celsius, with daily 50% water changes. That's not typical hobby conditions. The take-home message: if you're going to use beef heart at all, trim every single visible fat deposit. Use it as an occasional treat, not a staple, once weekly at absolute maximum. Better yet, substitute fish-based proteins that match aquatic animal metabolism. There's simply no evolutionary reason a fish from the Amazon River should be eating mammalian muscle tissue. No cows swim in the Rio Negro. For herbivorous and omnivorous species, vegetables become the primary building blocks. Spinach is rich in iron and contains a full vitamin complex. Blanching it breaks down cell walls, making nutrients accessible. Peas, shelled and blanched, provide soluble fiber that aids digestion. Many goldfish keepers use peas specifically to treat constipation, a common ailment in fancy goldfish varieties whose compressed bodies create digestive difficulties. Carrots contribute beta-carotene, which fish can convert into vitamin A and use as a color enhancer. That orange pigment doesn't just provide vitamin precursors, it intensifies red and orange coloration in fish capable of utilizing carotenoids. Zucchini and cucumber offer mild flavors most fish accept readily without strong taste rejection. Broccoli brings vitamin C and K along with beneficial plant compounds, though some fish reject its sulfurous taste. Test broccoli in small amounts before incorporating it broadly into recipes. Trial and error determines which vegetables your specific species prefer. Now let's talk about the two supplements that transform basic ingredients into complete nutrition. Spirulina platensis is a blue-green cyanobacterium that aquarium hobbyists often mistake for an algae. It's actually closer to bacteria, but that technical distinction matters far less than what's inside: 60 to 70% protein by dry weight. That's more protein per gram than beef, chicken, or fish. For comparison, lean beef contains about 26% protein. Spirulina more than doubles that concentration. The protein isn't just abundant, it's complete, containing all essential amino acids in proportions fish can utilize. But spirulina's real magic lies in the pigments. It contains 3,000 to 4,870 parts per million of carotenoids: zeaxanthin, beta-carotene, echinonone, and others. These are the compounds responsible for intensifying fish coloration. Multiple scientific studies document what hobbyists observed empirically. Research on rainbow trout showed fish-fed diets containing 5 to 10% spirulina exhibited significantly enhanced coloration compared to control groups. Studies on ornamental goldfish demonstrated color improvements visible within 4 to 8 weeks at inclusion rates as low as 0.5 to 2% of total diet. A recent study on coolie loaches tested spirulina supplementation at different levels: 25, 50, 75, and 100 grams per kilogram of feed. Growth parameters improved significantly at 50 grams per kilogram. Color intensity peaked at 75 grams per kilogram, with both dark pigmentation and carotenoid content in skin reaching maximum levels. The fish weren't just healthier, they were objectively more colorful, as measured by imaging analysis and carotenoid assays. Spirulina also stimulates immune function. Research on sturgeon showed that fish-fed diets containing 5 and 10% spirulina had significantly elevated lysozyme, protease, and esterase levels in skin mucus, all markers of enhanced immune response. When exposed to bacterial pathogens, spirulina-fed fish showed better survival rates than control groups. The cyanobacterium's soft cell wall structure makes it highly digestible. Unlike chlorella, which has tough cellulose walls fish struggle to break down, spirulina's cell membrane consists of mucopolymer membrane that fish digestive enzymes easily penetrate. Nutrients absorb efficiently without the fish working hard to access them. For herbivores like Malawi cichlids, plecos, and tangs, spirulina isn't optional, it's foundational. For omnivores, including it at 1 to 3% of diet provides substantial benefits. Even carnivorous species benefit from spirulina's amino acid profile and pigment compounds. Nori, the dried seaweed sheets used in sushi, provides another dimension of plant-based nutrition. It's rich in minerals, iodine, and trace elements. Many aquarists clip whole nori sheets to tank glass using specialized clips, allowing herbivores to graze continuously throughout the day. This mimics natural feeding behavior far better than scheduled feeding times. Garlic deserves special attention because it serves multiple functions simultaneously. Fresh garlic contains allicin, a sulfur compound with potent antibacterial properties. When fish consume garlic-infused food, allicin supports digestive health and may provide immune benefits against internal parasites. The evidence is largely anecdotal rather than rigorously scientific, but generations of aquarists report success using garlic to stimulate appetite in sick or finicky fish. More importantly, garlic's pungent aroma acts as a powerful appetite stimulant. Fish detect chemical compounds through olfaction and taste receptors distributed across their bodies. Garlic creates an olfactory signal that triggers feeding responses even in fish that might otherwise reject unfamiliar foods. If you're transitioning fish from commercial food to homemade preparations, garlic inclusion smooths that transition dramatically. Use fresh garlic, not powdered. Chop or puree whole cloves and mix them into your recipe before freezing. The cold preserves allicin that would otherwise degrade. Some hobbyists use commercial garlic extracts like Seacom's Garlic Guard, which penetrate food more thoroughly than chopped garlic bits. Either works. Fresh is cheaper, extracts are more convenient. Carotenoids are the pigments that make koi breeders wealthy and goldfish judges ruthless. In the wild, salmon flesh turns that characteristic deep red orange because they eat krill and shrimp loaded with astaxanthin. Captive salmon-fed diets without astaxanthin develop pale, unappetizing flesh. The same principle applies to ornamental fish. A red-orange swordtail in pristine water eating quality food should display vivid coloration. Faded colors often signal nutritional deficiencies. Fish cannot synthesize carotenoids. They must consume them. Whole shrimp with shells, krill meal, paprika, and red bell peppers all contribute carotenoids that concentrate in skin and scales over time. Spirulina provides carotenoids too, but combining multiple sources creates a pigment cocktail more effective than any single ingredient. The science is unambiguous. Studies show that over 6 to 8 weeks, fish-fed diets containing as little as 1 to 2% spirulina or other carotenoid sources exhibit measurably more intense coloration than control groups fed carotenoid-deficient diets. This isn't placebo effect or observer bias. It's quantified using colorimetric analysis and spectrophotometry. For koi and goldfish breeders, this matters commercially. A vibrant koi commands exponentially higher prices than a pale one. For hobbyists, it matters aesthetically and as a health indicator. Bright colors often correlate with robust health, proper nutrition, and low stress. Now comes the technical challenge that separates successful homemade food from aquarium disasters. Binding agents. Drop unbonded food into water and watch it disintegrate within seconds. Tiny particles cloud the water, clog filters, and decompose rapidly, spiking ammonia levels. Fish can't eat fast enough before the food breaks apart. The solution is binding agents, substances that hold ingredients together long enough for fish to consume them without polluting the tank. The two most common binders are gelatin and agar-agar, and they function through entirely different mechanisms. Gelatin is animal-derived collagen, typically extracted from pork skin, beef hides, or fish bones. It's cheap. A box of unflavored Knox gelatin costs a few dollars. It's easy to use. Dissolve powder in hot water, let it cool, mix with ingredients, refrigerate until set. The resulting gel is soft and elastic, with a texture fish find palatable. But gelatin has significant drawbacks. It melts at relatively low temperatures, around 25 degrees Celsius. Many tropical tanks operate warmer than that. When warm tank water hits gelatin-bound food, the food starts softening and dissolving faster than ideal. It also dissolves relatively quickly even in cool water, breaking apart within minutes. Fish must eat it quickly, or it contributes to water quality degradation. Nutritionally, gelatin is almost pure protein, roughly 6 grams per 7-gram serving, but it lacks essential amino acids like tryptophan. It's not complete protein. It contributes calories but not balanced nutrition. You're essentially adding filler that holds things together without enhancing food value. Agar-agar, derived from red seaweed, behaves completely differently. It gels at higher temperatures and remains stable even in warm water. The gel strength is substantially firmer than gelatin, holding food together longer without dissolving. This gives fish more time to consume it before it breaks apart. For slow-feeding species like Corydoras or nocturnal catfish, this stability matters tremendously. From a nutritional standpoint, agar-agar is significantly superior to gelatin. A 7-gram serving contains fiber, vitamins including vitamin K and E, minerals like calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, folate, and even small amounts of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. It's not filler, it's a legitimate nutritional contributor. The trade-off is preparation. Agar-agar requires boiling to activate the gelling properties. You can't just dissolve it in warm water like gelatin. It's also slightly more expensive, though still inexpensive in absolute terms. How much do you need? That depends on your ingredient's moisture content. A typical ratio is 1 to 2 tablespoons of gelatin or agar-agar per 2 cups of blended mixture, but wetter ingredients need more binder, drier ingredients need less. You'll discover through trial and error what works for your specific recipe. If your first batch falls apart too quickly, increase binder. If it's rubbery and fish reject it, decrease binder. Some aquarists use alternative binders: alginate, carrageenan, even egg yolk. Egg yolk contributes protein, fats, and carotenoids while helping bind ingredients. Research suggests alginate may actually promote growth in some species. Experiment carefully, document results, adjust accordingly. The critical principle: use enough binder to prevent water pollution, but not so much that fish are eating mostly gel with minimal nutrition. Your goal is food that holds together for 3 to 5 minutes, giving fish time to eat before dissolution begins. Now, let's walk through actual preparation methods. The frozen cube method is most popular because it's practical for daily feeding. Start by selecting and preparing ingredients. If using frozen seafood, thaw it first. If using raw meat or fish, ensure it's different from species you're feeding to minimize disease transmission risk. Rinse everything thoroughly. For vegetables, blanch them briefly. Drop into boiling water for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, then plunge into ice water. This softens cell walls, deactivates enzymes that cause degradation, and makes nutrients more accessible. Cut everything into chunks appropriate for your food processor or blender. Smaller pieces process more evenly. If you have a powerful meat grinder, that works even better than a food processor for creating consistent particle sizes. Many serious DIY food makers prefer grinders because they control texture more precisely. Blend everything together until you achieve desired consistency. For large fish with substantial mouths, Oscars, adult angelfish, larger cichlids, a chunkier texture works fine. For small community fish, tetras, rasboras, guppies, you need finer particles they can actually consume. Run the mixture through your processor or grinder twice if necessary to achieve fine consistency. Prepare your binding agents separately. For gelatin, dissolve powder in hot water according to package instructions, then let it cool to room temperature before mixing with food. Hot gelatin will cook your ingredients, potentially destroying heat-sensitive vitamins. For agar-agar, mix powder with water and bring to a full boil, stirring constantly. Once dissolved, let it cool before incorporating. Combine binding agent with blended ingredients and mix thoroughly. The mixture should be thick like pudding, spreadable but not runny. If it's too watery, add more dry ingredients or binding agent. If too thick, add small amounts of water. Pour mixture into ice cube trays. Standard ice cube size works perfectly for most tanks. Each cube equals approximately 1 feeding for a moderately stocked 40 to 50-gallon tank. Adjust portions based on your specific bioload. Cover trays with plastic wrap and freeze immediately. Once frozen solid, pop cubes out and transfer to labeled freezer bags. Label with recipe name and date. This food lasts 6 to 12 months frozen, though fatty fish like salmon degrade faster due to lipid oxidation. Rotate stock to use older food first. At feeding time, remove 1 cube and thaw it in a small container with tank water. Never drop frozen cubes directly into the tank. Temperature shock and slow dissolution mean most food goes uneaten and rots. Once thawed, distribute portions throughout the tank so all fish access food. Watch for uneaten food. If anything remains after 5 minutes, you're feeding too much. Some aquarists prefer making dried flakes or wafers instead of frozen food. Spread your blended mixture thinly across parchment paper on baking sheets. The thinner the layer, the faster and more evenly it dries. Place sheets in oven set to lowest temperature, around 160 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, or use a food dehydrator. Dry for several hours until completely brittle. Once dried, break into flake-sized pieces or cut into wafers. Store in airtight containers at room temperature. Dried food has longer shelf life than frozen, but loses more heat-sensitive vitamins during drying process. It's a trade-off between convenience and maximum nutrition retention. A third approach creates gel blocks specifically for continuous grazers. Make a concentrated mixture with high agar-agar content, roughly double normal amounts. Pour into shallow containers and let set into firm blocks. These can be attached directly to driftwood, smooth rocks, or suction-cupped feeding stations in the tank. They last hours without dissolving, giving plecos, hill stream loaches, and other grazers time to work on them throughout the day. This mimics natural feeding behavior far better than scheduled feedings. Storage determines whether your effort pays off or spoils. Frozen food must stay at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Temperature fluctuations are the enemy. Every freeze-thaw cycle degrades quality. Store food in dedicated freezer sections, not the door where temperature varies with opening. Vacuum sealing provides maximum protection against freezer burn and oxidation. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, press as much air as possible from freezer bags before sealing. Fatty ingredients like salmon oxidize over time even when frozen. Plan to use these recipes within 3 to 6 months. Lean proteins and vegetable-based recipes last longer, up to 12 months with good storage. For dried foods, airtight containers in cool, dark locations maximize shelf life. Moisture is the enemy. A single gram of moisture can spoil an entire batch, allowing mold growth. The question every hobbyist eventually asks, is this genuinely better than commercial products? Let's start with cost because it's quantifiable. Commercial frozen fish food runs roughly $12 to $25 for 3 to 5 ounces. Premium brands like Larry's Reef Services cost even more. A hobbyist feeding a large tank twice daily burns through frozen food alarmingly fast. Calculate the annual cost, and you're looking at potentially several $100s. Compare that to homemade food. Multiple aquarists report spending $20 to $30 at Asian markets on a mix of fresh fish, shrimp, squid, mussels, and vegetables. That investment produces enough frozen cubes to feed their tanks for 6 months to a full year. The per-feeding cost drops to pennies. One reef keeper detailed their experience. A $10 shopping trip at an Asian market produced ingredients for a full year of food. Another freshwater hobbyist made a tester batch using $10 in ingredients that fed their fish for at least 6 months. They gave most of it away to friends before using it all. The savings aren't marginal, they're dramatic. Even accounting for equipment costs, food processor or meat grinder, ice cube trays, freezer bags, the break-even point arrives quickly. After 3 to 6 months, you're ahead financially. But cost is secondary to quality considerations. Commercial foods undergo processing that compromises nutritional integrity. Ingredients are cooked during extrusion to create pellets. High heat destroys heat-sensitive vitamins, particularly vitamin C and some B vitamins. Manufacturers compensate by over-fortifying with synthetic vitamins, but synthetic vitamins aren't always as bioavailable as naturally occurring forms. Flake foods are baked to remove moisture, extending shelf life. Again, heat exposure. Then packaging, warehousing, shipping, retail display, a supply chain that might span months before food reaches your fish. During this time, oxidation occurs. Fats turn rancid, vitamins degrade. That jar of flakes might have been nutritionally complete when manufactured. By the time it sits on your shelf for 3 months, it's compromised. Frozen commercial foods fare better than dry foods, but still face supply chain issues. They're processed, frozen, shipped, thawed during distribution occasionally, refrozen, then finally sold. How many freeze-thaw cycles occurred before you bought it? Unknown. Homemade food bypasses all this. You prepare fresh ingredients and freeze them immediately. Nutritional integrity locks in. Each cube contains nutrients at peak levels. That's simply impossible to replicate commercially. Customization is perhaps the greatest advantage. Commercial foods must appeal broadly. A pellet labeled tropical fish food tries to meet needs of tetras, gouramis, angelfish, corridoras, species with wildly different dietary requirements. The formula becomes a compromise that satisfies no species optimally. Your DIY food targets your specific fish, keeping Malawi cichlids that need high spirulina content. Load your recipe with 30% spirulina, breeding discus that benefit from extreme protein levels. Create a recipe with 60% protein from multiple fish and seafood sources. Have a fish with documented food allergies? Eliminate problem ingredients entirely. You control ingredient quality absolutely. Want organic vegetables, wild-caught fish, sustainably harvested seafood? You choose everything. Commercial manufacturers use whatever protein sources are cheapest when they formulate batches. Fish meal quality varies wildly. You avoid mystery ingredients entirely. But DIY food isn't perfect. Serious drawbacks exist. Time investment is substantial. Shopping for ingredients, preparing them, processing everything, packaging, cleanup. A batch takes 3 to 4 hours start to finish. For hobbyists with single small tanks, this effort might not justify the savings. For breeders maintaining fish rooms with dozens of tanks, that time investment distributes across many feedings, making it worthwhile. Nutrient balance requires careful thought and research. Commercial foods undergo feeding trials and nutritional analysis. They're formulated by nutritionists who understand fish metabolism. If you create an unbalanced recipe, say, all vegetables for carnivores or all protein with no fiber for herbivores, you risk nutritional deficiencies manifesting over months. This is why successful DIY recipes combine diverse ingredients, multiple protein sources, various vegetables, crucial supplements like spirulina and garlic. Variety provides nutritional insurance. If one ingredient lacks a particular amino acid or vitamin, another supplies it. Contamination risk is real. Raw seafood can harbor parasites. Wild-caught fish might contain environmental contaminants. Improperly handled ingredients introduce bacteria. Food safety protocols matter. Buy from reputable sources, freeze raw fish at 0 degrees for 48 hours minimum to kill parasites, maintain clean preparation areas, and refrigerate ingredients properly. Some fish do poorly on homemade food. Nanospecies like small tetras, rasboras, zebra danios, they need food ground so fine that DIY preparation becomes impractical. Their mouths are tiny. Their nutritional requirements are specific. They thrive better on specialized micropellets designed precisely for their needs. Fry and juvenile fish generally need commercial foods formulated for rapid development, unless you're experienced at adjusting recipes for growth phases. The margin for error with babies is slim. Stick with proven fry foods until you're confident in your formulation skills. Perhaps most important, homemade food shouldn't completely replace commercial options. Even dedicated DIY feeders often use their homemade food as staple while supplementing with high-quality commercial foods for nutritional insurance. This hybrid approach combines freshness and customization of DIY with the tested completeness of manufactured products. Water quality impact demands careful monitoring. Any uneaten food pollutes tanks, but homemade food can break down faster than compact pellets if binding is inadequate. The softer texture means quicker dissolution. Feed only what fish consume within 3 to 5 minutes maximum. Watch for cloudy water, the telltale sign of bacterial bloom from excess dissolved organic compounds. Cloudy water after feeding indicates one of several problems. Either you're overfeeding, your binding agent ratio is insufficient, or both. Reduce portion sizes first. If cloudiness persists, remake the recipe with more agar-agar or gelatin. The food must hold together long enough for consumption without adding to water column nutrients. Properly made DIY food shouldn't cloud water any more than quality commercial frozen foods. If it does, you're doing something wrong. Adjust and try again. Now let's examine specific recipes that experienced aquarists have refined over years. For aggressive carnivores, large cichlids, arowanas, predatory catfish, protein dominance is key. Combine 1 pound of white fish fillet, ½ pound of peeled raw shrimp, ¼ pound of mussels, and a small amount of salmon for omega-3 content and color enhancement. Add a handful of spinach for fiber and several cloves of fresh garlic. Blend thoroughly. Incorporate 2 tablespoons of agar-agar dissolved in boiling water. Freeze in cubes. This provides lean protein close to 60% of total diet, omega-3s, natural color enhancers, and minimal carbohydrate load. For herbivorous species, plecos, tangs, some African cichlids, vegetables and spirulina dominate. Blanch spinach, zucchini, carrots, and shelled peas together. Add nori sheets torn into pieces and 3 to 4 tablespoons of spirulina powder per pound of vegetables. Include 1 to 2 tablespoons of oats for binding consistency. Mix with agar-agar and freeze. The high fiber content supports digestive systems adapted for constant grazing. The spirulina provides protein and pigments without requiring animal sources. For omnivores, goldfish, most community fish, many cichlids, balanced blends work best. Equal parts white fish and vegetables, carrots, peas, spinach, broccoli. Add raw shrimp for variety, 1 tablespoon of spirulina powder per pound of mix, several cloves of garlic. Use gelatin or agar-agar as binder. This middle ground approach provides complete nutrition for species that naturally consume everything. Color enhancement recipes prioritize carotenoid sources. Whole raw shrimp with shells, salmon, 1 tablespoon of paprika powder, diced red bell peppers. Mix with white fish base and vegetables. The astaxanthin from shrimp shells and salmon, combined with beta-carotene from paprika and peppers, creates a carotenoid cocktail that intensifies reds and oranges within 4 to 8 weeks of consistent feeding. Breeding condition recipes maximize protein and include egg yolk for its carotenoids and essential fatty acids valuable for egg production. High protein stimulates spawning behavior in many species. Combine 60% protein sources, multiple fish and seafood varieties, with 20% vegetables, 1 whole egg yolk per pound of food, and spirulina. The extreme protein load and egg lipids provide metabolic fuel for reproduction. Adjust all recipes based on observation. Fish with distended bellies suggest too much filler. Reduce binding agent. Faded colors despite color-enhancing ingredients. Increase carotenoid sources. Fish disinterested in food. Add more garlic or try different protein bases. The beauty of DIY food is this infinite adjustability. You modify recipes until your specific fish thrive. Consider feeding schedules because frequency matters as much as content. Most aquarium fish don't need 3 meals daily. In nature, feeding opportunities are sporadic. A predator might gorge when prey is abundant, then go days without eating. Herbivores graze constantly but consume small amounts. Mimicking natural patterns often means feeding once daily or even once every 2 days for certain species. Overfeeding is among the most common mistakes hobbyists make. The consequences aren't immediately obvious. Fish don't become visibly obese like overfed dogs. Instead, excess food decomposes, spiking ammonia and nitrite levels. Beneficial bacteria populations explode trying to process the waste, leading to bacterial blooms that milky cloudiness new hobbyists dread. With homemade food, start conservatively. Feed half what you think appropriate and observe. If fish consume everything within 2 minutes and search for more, you can increase slightly. If food remains after 5 minutes, you're feeding too much. Remove uneaten food with a net to prevent decomposition. Fish can fast safely. No fish starve to death in 3 days. Many predatory species in nature routinely go week or more between meals. Periodic fasting, 1 or 2 days weekly, actually promotes digestive health and mimics natural feeding patterns. Don't fear underfeeding, fear overfeeding. Thawing method impacts food quality and water pollution. Never microwave frozen food. Uneven heating destroys vitamins and creates hot spots. Don't leave food at room temperature for hours. Bacterial growth accelerates. Instead, place frozen cube in small container, add tank water, let it thaw naturally for 10 to 15 minutes. Once liquid, distribute through tank. Some hobbyists create target feeding tools for specific fish. Syringes or turkey basters let you deliver food directly to shy fish or ones unable to compete in feeding frenzies. Bottom feeders appreciate sinking foods placed near their territories. Surface feeders need food that stays at top long enough for consumption. For continuous grazers, gel blocks attached to tank surfaces work brilliantly. Plecos will work a firm agar block for hours, rasping away at it slowly. This satisfies their natural feeding behavior far better than scheduled feedings. Replace blocks when consumed or when they start degrading. The online community of DIY fish food makers offers tremendous resources. Forums dedicated to specific species often feature tried and tested recipes refined over years. Reef to Reef, Fish Lore, Simply Discus. These communities share recipes, troubleshoot problems, and celebrate successes. Someone somewhere has fed your exact species with homemade food and can tell you what worked. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Post your recipe for feedback. Share results. The collective knowledge accelerates your learning curve beyond what trial and error alone could achieve. Making fish food connects you more deeply to aquarium keeping. You're not simply maintaining a display, you're actively participating in your fish's health through thoughtful nutrition. This engagement often leads hobbyists to observe their fish more carefully, noticing subtle changes in behavior, coloration, or health that casual observers miss. That attention frequently catches problems early when they're still treatable. The question isn't whether DIY fish food is objectively superior to all commercial products. Quality manufactured foods absolutely exist. NLS, Hikari, New Era, Northfin. These companies produce excellent products using quality ingredients and proven formulations. The question is whether the benefits of freshness, customization, cost savings, and deeper engagement align with your goals as an aquarist. Your fish cannot tell you what they need, but their health, colors, growth, and behavior speak volumes. Vibrant colors and vigorous activity suggest excellent nutrition. Faded colors, lethargy, frequent illness, or poor growth indicate nutritional gaps requiring attention. Sometimes commercial food fills those gaps perfectly. Sometimes only customized homemade food succeeds. Learning to read these signals and respond appropriately separates adequate fish keeping from exceptional aquarium stewardship. And sometimes, that exceptional stewardship means spending a Saturday afternoon at an Asian market, coming home with bags of shrimp and squid, and spending 3 hours in your kitchen creating nutrition your fish would never encounter in any commercial product. Is it more work than shaking flakes from a jar? Absolutely. But then again, the fish in your tank, those living creatures dependent entirely on your decisions, didn't evolve to thrive on processed flakes. They evolved eating whole foods in complex ecosystems. DIY food doesn't perfectly replicate nature, but it moves one giant step closer than anything manufactured in a factory and stored on a shelf for months. Will you continue reaching for that familiar flake container, accepting the compromises inherent in commercial food? Or will you take control of your tank's nutrition, building meals tailored precisely to your fish from fresh ingredients you selected yourself? The decision is yours. There's no wrong answer, only the answer that fits your circumstances, your commitment level, and your vision for the fish you keep. But if you choose to try it, if you make that first batch and watch your fish go absolutely insane for it, if you see colors intensify over subsequent weeks, if you notice behavioral changes suggesting robust health, then you'll understand why thousands of aquarists never go back. Because once you see what proper nutrition does, once you witness fish thriving rather than merely surviving, the extra effort stops feeling like work and starts feeling like what it actually is, the most impactful thing you can do for the fish in your care. If this exploration into DIY fish food has changed how you think about aquarium nutrition, share it with fellow hobbyists who might benefit from this information. Drop a like if you found it valuable, and subscribe for more deep explorations into aquarium keeping. Thanks for spending this time learning. May your fish be healthy, your colors vibrant, and your tanks forever thriving.